My mic. There we go. Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you so much for being here, for stopping by. A couple of things we're going to chat about tonight. Thank you for being here at the Counseling Corner. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate you supporting Bravo with Sheila Network. I'm glad that you're here. I want to talk to you tonight just about a couple of things that I know that, will be interesting for all of us really to chat about because we are all affected in some way with some type of trauma. But tonight we're talking about dealing with defensive walls, dealing with defensive walls. I hope that you are dealing with them. If you have walls that have been erected because of a trauma, because of a situation, listen, a circumstance, whatever it is that has caused you to guard yourself over, right? Overly, like what is overly guarding? That's when your walls are so thick that you feel that you can't trust, you feel that you're protecting yourself by putting up these walls. And I want to talk about it tonight. I want to share a little bit. I'm going to be looking at some notes and some information that I pulled from Psychology Today. I'm going to be talking from my heart to you, hoping that this will influence you. What do you do when havens become prisons? What do you do when havens become prisons? I want to thank you once again for being here. My name is Sheila Ingram. And as you see, I'm an LPC. You might have seen me with different hats on. That means I am a licensed professional clinical counselor. And I am here to talk, to chat, to encourage. This broadcast is for informational purposes only. I think I better put that up so I don't get in any trouble. Put up informational purposes only. If I can find that, I'm going to tag it up on the screen for a second so that I don't get in trouble by speaking about this topic and not sharing that this is for informational purposes only. It's because of my expertise in some of the things that I've been privy to and how I've been helping people for over 30 something years, counseling married people, single, youth, just helping people get to that place called there. So I think I found something that I can put up right here. There it is. This broadcast is for informational purpose only. That's what it's for. I'll leave it up for a second so people can catch it and understand that that's what this is for. So yeah, I want to talk to you today, tonight, this evening, wherever you are, about dealing with defensive walls, dealing with defensive walls. And we know we all have some type of walls erected from whatever past hurts or dramas that have found their way into our lives, right? But I want to get into it because I don't want to be before you long. This series, this
series that we're doing here is relationships with yourself, relationships with yourself, or a relationship with yourself. It may be plural, it may be singular. Nevertheless, it is a relationship that you have with yourself. People talk about relationships and they talk about having relationships with co-workers and girlfriends and spouses and boyfriends and all types of people, places, and things, relationships. But sometimes we don't talk about the relationship with ourselves. You are in relationship with yourself. And when you look at it from that perspective, you want to be able to give and feed yourself the very thing you would want to feed someone in a positive relationship. You want to give positivity, you want to give growth, you want to edify and encourage others that you are in relationship with. And sometimes things go left and people find themselves in places where they can't break free. They can't break free. And what happens? The haven becomes a prison within themselves. And so let's get into some of what we're going to talk about tonight. Now, I'm going to be looking and giving points and then coming back. So I'm still with you. I'm right here. I'm right with you right here. So there's a point that I wrote, and there's some points in this. And again, I want to thank Psychology Today for the incredible information that they lend to us so that we can use it and carry the information to others to help them get along in their life. So people who experience trauma may build walls. People who go through certain circumstances and situations and very difficult spaces, dark places in their life, build walls. The walls sometimes erect knowingly, and sometimes they are unknowingly that the walls are being erected, right? And while this may work as a defense mechanism in the moment, I said in the moment, it can create trouble for the future and trouble in your relationships, and especially the relationship that you're having with yourself. Definitely, these walls can trickle into future relationships. And some signs, we want to talk about some signs that a partner has with their defensive walls up, and it includes meltdowns and hyperactivity, acting like a martyr, listen, and so much more. These walls have to be dealt with, and very few people escape, some form of trauma in their lives, and most survive uh, personal tragedies, but developing these walls are something that sometimes erect as we deal with personal tragedies and certain circumstances that hit our lives, right? Emotional escape strategies, emotional escaping from dealing with certain things that we should deal with in order to get past them and to cope with them and to get delivered from them so that we can move on and live our best life. So, one of the most common defensive mechanisms is to create emotional wall or walls. Let's say a wall, right? That helps to what? Separate the person from the event. And this happens a lot when things happen early on in life, maybe, or in your adulthood. Whenever the time zone or the time stamp hits you where an event happens, certain things can trigger this, right? And so most of the time, when people deal with these things, they find themselves trying to escape from it. So, and it is in a private, hidden haven in which a person can somehow control anguish from which they cannot escape. Sometimes there are things that we've walked through and gone through that we feel we cannot escape. So, to protect ourselves, these invisible walls erect, these walls that seem like we can't escape. Somehow, this anguish has brought us to this place. So, most people carry these escape havens, listen to me, into intimate relationships and in their adult lives, whether they realize it or not. Like I said early on, knowingly or unknowingly, these walls erect. They are unconscious. Sometimes they're unconscious. Default responses that are ever ready to avoid the pain. It's about avoiding the pain. What? Of potentially what? Reminding them of something that happened to them, or it will have things re-emerging past traumas, re-emerging past traumas that possibly maybe have not shown up in a year or two, but something happens where this is triggered in you and these things reemerge, and all of a sudden, this wall is prominent in your life, right? And so I want you to understand that when it's activated, they allow a person to what unconsciously, that means unconsciously or consciously retreat behind the wall, that they are still there. The situation is still there. The hurt is still there. The betrayal is still there. The pain is still there. Prisoners to their prior sorrows and pain and unable to be fully present in a current relationship. This is what causes sometimes relationships to sever because of these types of situations. And so I thought it was very important to talk about the relationship that we have with ourselves. And if you're having a relationship with yourself where you've built these walls knowingly or unknowingly, I hope today helps you understand a little bit more of what's going on and help you deal with these defensive walls. And here's some examples that we're going to walk through. We're going to walk through some examples that may help you. It may help your spouse, your partner, who to recognize the emergence of defensive walls. Oh my goodness. And to help both each other to maintain this equilibrium, right? When they are threatened to disrupt your relationship, because they come to disrupt your relationship and to throw you off of what it is that you're trying to have in your peaceful, wonderful relationship. Suddenly, listen to me, erupting defensive walls. Let's take a look at some bulletins. Sudden eruptions seem to come out of nowhere and often leave the other partner surprised, wounded, confused, and defensive. Often they have been smothering, right? Smoldering and smothering for some time without evidence that what? They are brewing. They're always brewing. So always brewing going on. And depending on how thick this defensive wall is, listen, it's still always brewing behind that wall because it exists. It's not healthy, and it comes to disrupt your peace, right? So let's look at the reactivity, I should say, hyperreactivity. When a trigger to prior trauma is activated, the person experiencing it is re-experiencing, listen, the original anguish as it if it was happening again in the current moment, presently. It feels like it is happening right in the present moment. And it can be triggered on the other end of any behavior that rekindles even a memory of the past trauma, even a memory. It doesn't even have to be someone that does something to you. It can be just you pondering in a particular dark space of remembering something that caused you harm or discomfort. It will trigger you. And then what? This wall, right? The partner, listen, re-experiencing these intense feelings may suddenly snap. They may just snap, right? Right at the drop of a hat, they will snap. They'll snap, walk out, right? They'll do all type of things, counter attack you with words, or become immobilized and unable to function. This is real talk right now. This is real serious talk. And those of you who are suffering with these defensive walls, take heed to understand that some of these things need to come down. They need to come down. You don't need the protection you think that they're guarding and giving you. And I don't mean some of them, I think all of them. But listen, one day at a time, and it's a process, right? So let's just work on some. Let's just work on having consciousness of dealing with some of these things that come to cause this defensive wall system to continuously show up in your life. Let's look at meltdowns. If the partner is re-experiencing trauma and cannot get their walls up fast enough, that means if something happens anywhere, anytime someone says something, you're in a particular place, and all of a sudden it comes as a shock, right? And that you don't even have time to defend. The wall does not come up. The wall does not come up. You don't have time to respond with this wall. Listen to me. They may fall apart right in the moment. So when exposed and vulnerable in that way, they often decompensate, right? Exhibiting pain and rage, confusion and helplessness, seemingly out of nowhere. Because why? They didn't have time to bring that wall up. The response was too late, right? Just too late. And the meltdown begins to happen. We're talking about the meltdown. They cannot control the flood of emotions, the emotions, whatever they've dealt with or dealing with, the flood of emotions that overtake them like a bursting dam, like something just exploded. And so they don't have time to recover. They don't have time to even deal with it. Meltdowns, they usually happen and qualify as a PTSD response many times, erupting because of a long-term what? Suppression, a long-term suppression that can no longer bear. They can't bear it anymore. It's just they've been carrying it too long, and this thing is getting ready to erupt. And so the partners, on the other hand, and we're talking about relationships with yourself, but also the relationship you have with your significant other. The partners on the other end who have what? No knowledge of this past trauma. They don't have a clue. You haven't talked about it. You haven't communicated with your partner about this past trauma. They often feel helpless, don't know how to help you, don't know what to say. So those feelings of powerlessness can trigger their own need to what? Your partner will need to retreat from you. They don't know how to respond. They don't know what to do. So they're going to retreat possibly. And those feelings of powerlessness can trigger their own emotional feelings to do something to get out of the line of fire, because you have just erupted into a space that they don't understand. It's almost like, who is this person? How can I help you? What is going on? And if you have not communicated these things to your significant other, they are lost in a certain section and part of your life, right? And so the melting down is very serious, creating feelings of abandonment when that partner backs up. Now, the person who is dealing with this wall situation, the defensive wall, they don't understand what's going on, because now, because of their rage, their partner don't know how to respond or to help. They will back up, and then immediately another feeling, another layer pops onto a person. It erects on a person, which is now they have a feeling of being abandoned, being abandoned. Oh my goodness. And it's very difficult to navigate through this. It becomes a replication of what happened in the original trauma. It kind of goes back, it just skips, all the tape rewinds all the way back to the original trauma. And there is an immediate deepening of the need to disconnect as they once did. So it's very important that these defensive walls are dealt with. They must leave you. They're intruders inside of you. They are intruders. You need to get to someone. You need to be able to talk. Sometimes you may not even need a counselor or a therapist. Your partner may be that safe space, that soft place that you could come to and share about this if you're ready. If you trust has a lot to do with how much you share with your significant other. There must be a trust system in place when you need to share about something that happened significantly in your life. If you're with someone and you have a resolve of, better not, I don't think so, they may not be able to handle this, then you'll always be tucked away behind this defensive wall, because you don't feel that what you're going to share is going to fall on good ground, or ground that may be able to understand what it is you're experiencing. So there are personality changes as well. Partners on the other end of spontaneous and rapidly emerging walls often, listen to me, report that those partners seem to be someone they don't recognize. Again, who are you? Where did you come from? I've been with you for years. I've been with you for months. I've spent quality time with you. Who are you when this thing erupts and happens? And so the rapidly emerging walls often report that those partners seem to be someone they don't recognize. As I'm saying to you, drugs, right? People who deal with people who have had a drug bout or who are addicted to a particular drug, or alcohol may also provide, listen, the gateway for less inhibition and can too easily be blamed for the sudden eruption. The eruption, we calling it eruption. It's like a dunamis explosion, a dynamite explosion, rather than the realization that the hidden trauma is the true culprit. The person is not the culprit. It's the trauma that is the culprit. But yet in relationships, people spew certain words and go through certain things with each other, never getting the understanding to get behind the wall to see what is causing this behavior. It is the culprit that we're calling tonight, the wall. What's behind the wall? That's the culprit that is causing you to not have peace. And eventually those sudden eruptions and the personality changes, right, often accompany them will emerge independently. Independently, a person who is normally quiet, compatible, easygoing, can all of a sudden erupt. There can be a full eruption in this person that was so laid back. Yes, they can erupt in anger. They can erupt with threats. I'm telling you, this is not a good place to be in. They can threaten to leave and make wipeout statements. And these things cause people to lose relationships many, many, many times in a day. How many people are behind closed doors that are dealing with these silent defensive walls and have been dealing with trying to communicate with someone who is total opposite to the eruption. The eruption comes and the other person is like, what is this? What just happened? Who are you? Right? They must present that urgency with what? Finality. It's really a difficult place for someone that has these defensive walls up, for them to deal with the reality of being safe, right? They have this, like this ace, this whole card waiting, so that if anything happens, they know how to respond with hatred, with hateful words, just to protect them. These are defensive walls. They may present that urgency with finality and as if they are never coming back, which may create panic and fear in their partners. People that deal with folks that are going through this, they retreat, and the other person feels like when they recover a little bit and come back to a calmness, what have I done? What have I done? In the meantime, the person that saw this eruption, this explosion, is making a quick decision, if this has happened over a period of time, that I need to retreat. I need to leave this relationship. And then it will be noted as it is toxic, that it's a toxic relationship because of the constant eruption. But let me let you know right now that if you're dealing with these defensive walls, it will be in your best interest and in the best interest of your partner and in the best interest of yourself. Remember, relationship with yourself. Let's say it. Relationship with me, a relationship with me. You must love you enough to want to break down any intruder that is robbing you of a good time in your relationship, that is robbing you of a good time even in your workplace, that is robbing you of what you're trying to do in your profession. I'm telling you, these walls are slowly, it's like a volcano. The lava is moving. It's moving until it one day it finally erupts. So I want you to understand about the slowly emerging walls. Most people are drawn to their partners by a sense of familiarity, right? Even if that ensures that what? These traumas induced behaviors are more likely to happen. These are slowly emerging walls. And over time, they begin to be triggered in the same familiar patterns that were part of the what? The original need to separate out, that they may begin withdrawing right into those places that once protected them, they'll begin to withdraw, and their outward behavior may seem unchanged for a while, but as behaviors begin, as they begin to emerge that are reminiscent of past trauma, we're talking about the culprit, the past trauma, the warning signs of retreat become evident. So this has creeped into a position where now your partner or your significant other has now seen this behavior. And now if they're still in it, they're guarded now. And what happens? this behavior influences their behavior. And then there's trouble in the home. So I want you to understand that dealing with the past traumas is the culprit that is robbing you of your time with yourself in a healthy, wonderful space. And you have the modern, when people continue to present themselves as stable. This is a really, really prominent one. They present themselves as stable and fine, like I'm okay, while feeling disappointed or wounded inside. This one is a big one. This one is when you're faking it. This one is when you're putting on the mask. You're changing mask every day, every day. They are likely slipping into martyrdom. They have less and less ability, listen to me, to receive for fear of losing control. So now control is etched in this. People don't like to be out of control. Walls being up. These defensive walls is a huge part of controlling who gets in and what comes out. But it's a barrier. I come to tell you, it is not a healthy barrier. Oh my goodness, this is so important. They may begin to keep score internally while seeming fine. They're keeping score of what you did or what you said. Oh my God, this is not healthy. This is not healthy. Presenting a brave soldier type of outward appearance while withdrawing internally. Oh my, this is dangerous. This is not healthy at all. Signals that martyrdom is being is subtle. It's subtle, very, very subtle. And there is less talking when this is involved, and less frustration and less tolerance, right? Resistance to simple requests, denial of distress. I'm okay. No, I'm good. No, 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 that didn't bother me. No, no, I'm fine. We talked about this already. And all the time, everything inside is what? Still what? There's the word brewing. It is brewing. Oh my God. Less interest happens with events and normally become a person who is withdrawn over time, just always moving back. But I'm okay. I'm okay. You okay? I'm okay. But in the inside, oh my God, the frustration and the tolerance is still happening. What about escaping? The partners who are slowly, listen, retreating behind their emotional walls often turn out to they often turn to outside relationships or situations while being simultaneously being withdrawn in their primary relationship. Okay, I heard you. You said say that one more time. One more one. You got it. Escaping. The partners who are slowly retreating behind their emotional walls with an S often turn to outside relationships or situations that simultaneously being withdrawn in their primary relationship. So now we have cheating, we have lying, we have all types of things now have segued and sapped into. It was seeping all the time. It was brewing all the time. And now it's found its way to cause a person or persons to do this type of behavior when they call it escaping. When challenged by their partner that they seem happier elsewhere, they are likely to defend. They are likely to excuse what they are doing, not wanting to risk what? Their primary relationship by admitting what is obvious. They don't want to talk about what is obvious. So now that comes to the point where, oh, so you playing on my intelligence? You're telling me I don't understand what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling. What are you doing? So see what happens? This has taken a total shift, right? Because now the person does not want to own up to what is actually going on. What's actually going on, not wanting to risk, they don't want to risk it. They don't want to risk the relationship by admitting what is absolutely obvious. So the abandoned partner tries to challenge, listen, the reality, but often feels futile and powerless to stop it. Stop, pause, and reflect on that one. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Deep, 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 deep. Sometimes those escapes are temporary and do help the trauma reactions quiet down. There has to be a season. Somebody has to help it quiet down. There has to be like a quieting down in this type of situation in order to recover and try to get back to a place where there could be some type of good communication to talk about this, right? And so if a person who normally retreats behind walls, meaning with a S, walls, instead embraces a new challenge, right? Commits to self-healing, self-healing, or just takes time for themselves. It may help them put things into perspective. So sometimes we have to step away. We have to step away and have to give ourselves a moment and some time. But if this is a situation that is constantly happening, this constantly pulling on a relationship, then it has to be dealt with. These defensive walls must be dealt with. So other times they create a true challenge to the relationship's continued success, right? We want success in our relationships. A love affair is an obvious example. We knew this is where we were driving to in the park. We're driving, we're in the bushes, we're sneaking. This is where the sneaking comes in, where a person can stay behind walls while enjoying a safe spree or open up to someone they are not yet untrusting of. So that means they get to a person that matters but doesn't matter, but yet is still cheating on that primary relationship. This is like giving, catching a breath with someone who has no knowledge of your behavior, no knowledge of this, whatever you've gone through. And so this is another example that would be fully immersing oneself in a new direction that doesn't include the current partner. Now you done segued your little self out of this situation instead of dealing with these defensive walls, found another person to kind of run into with all this luggage and baggage. This person has no clue what has just happened and has been happening in your prior relationship. Oh, I know you forgot, you omitted this part when you met this new person. I get it. You didn't talk about this. Be fully immersing oneself in a new direction. That's what you're doing. So that's what we're doing here. Okay. So the partner takes significant amounts of energy and time away and leaving the emotional walls intact between them intact. So you're intact with one. Oh my God, listen to me. Oh, listen. Another example would be fully immersing, oneself in a new direction that doesn't include the current partner, but takes significant amount of energy and time away from that partner, leaving emotional walls intact. Oh my God. Subtle distancing. Let's move on. Subtle distancing. As protective walls re-emerge, the person going into hiding, begins to split off. They're going to split off, right? Though they appear to still be present and interactive with their present partner, they are beginning a slow retreat from the relationship. Now, is that fair? Absolutely not. When you have the responsibility of yourself, for yourself, to love yourself and have the relationship with yourself to work on these defensive walls, you have another person involved in this relationship with you. And instead of coming to a place to deal with it, you want to stay protected behind these walls, and you begin to go outside of the relationship to a person who has no knowledge of who the real you are, right? Or the real you is, whatever way you want to say it. And then now you're slowly breaking off from this relationship that you love so much, right? Oh my God, this is called subtle distancing, right? And it appears to be present and interactive. They are beginning, you are beginning, she or he are beginning a retreat from the relationship. Some will become much less involved. They restrict access to their inner worlds, oh my, and are not curious about their partner's lives. Listen, it's a lot going on here with both parties. Their behaviors seem more robot-like, as if they are participating in the most minimum way. Have you ever been in a situation or relationship like this? Is something ringing a bell in you right now? Now it's minimal. It's minimal the way that they're dealing with you. These are greater periods of silence. It's silence now in the relationship, and less desired intimacy. Have you been in this space before? Or affection, it's dwindling away. It is almost gone. Oh my God. And so this is something, and we're talking about this today because it's so very important about defensive walls. These defensive walls will destroy, totally destroy your relationship, and some will become much less involved, and we understand that. And they restrict access. The access is restricted. You need a pass to get in, right? You need a pass around your neck, not access. You don't have access. It has access restricted. That's right. So there are greater periods of silence and less desire for intimacy or affection. When questioned or challenged, their most typical response is to excuse or deny, attributing their less involvement to other issues. This is not good. This is not good. I'm telling you, this is really something that people need to deal with. Deal with yourself. Deal with yourself. Get help. Talk to someone. It's robbing you of your life. It's robbing you of your love life. It's robbing you of the relationship that you have with yourself. It is robbing you of the relationship that you have with your family. Listen to me. I just gave you some key pointers of people that have defensive walls up. I just gave you some key pointers for you to stop, pause, and reflect and think about if this is you, if some of this is you. If you're working on yourself, then bravo to you. Some key takeaways is there are similarities in all of the examples that I have expressed to you and chatted with you just now. The person who was once protective havens beckon will slowly split off and live from behind them. Mm, mm, mm. While seemingly still present, you think your spouse is present, but you see red signals. You have witnessed and experienced some behavior that's questionable, but yet they're present. They're present, but they're not present. Mm-mm. They're not present. So when they do, they erase the intimate connection they once had with you or with themselves and their partners, their families. Experience their partner as the same kind of person who originally hurt them. So they experience their present partner to the person who originally hurt them, the trauma, the culprit. They identify the person that they're with that trauma because of the behavior and what you spew out of your mouth, and why you won't expose yourself so that that person that is with you may be able to help you, or someone else may be able to help you. Please reach out if you're allowing these defensive walls to cheat you out of your wonderful, beautiful life, whether mild or severe. Those walls that were once havens of protection now become prisons. Prisons. They become prisons. They were walls of protection, but because of the evolving and the lava, I tell you about the volcano, it's brewing, because it's brewing, and you have found a very good way of covering up. It will explode. It will at some point explode. And it has turned in from something that you could have dealt with to now a prison. It has become havens of protection, have now become prisons. Mm. Keeping those who created them from ever living beyond those limitations. Intimate partners who understand what is going on, they do recognize what is happening, and they do not take these retreats personally, but rather want to know how they activated the trigger. People want to know, what did I say? What did I do? How did we get to this space in this place? How? What did I say that could take you to this space, to speak to me this way, to treat me this way? to find yourself in another man's arms, to find yourself in another woman's arms. You retreated into someone else's arms that really don't know you, and you don't know what lies ahead for you in that relationship. And though they know they cannot heal what has happened in the past, they can keep from repeating the behaviors that continue to harm. So there is hope, and you can get through this. You can just face yourself. Face, go behind the wall, deal with the culprit, deal with that trauma that came and invaded you and invaded your heart, invaded your space, invaded your youth, invaded your adulthood. What is it that is haunting you? What is it that is depleting you? What is it that you feel you'll never be free from? You can be free today if you would just love yourself enough again to deal with the culprit that is depriving you of this wonderful life that you could possibly have. Do not let these walls destroy your present relationship, the relationship you've given so much love to, the relationship you've given so much time to. Do not let this culprit chip away at your life. Do not give it another second. Do not give it another moment. Deal with it. Deal with it and get free from it, because the wall that you think is protecting you is the very wall that's breaking you down. So I'm asking you today to sit and think about what it is that you need to do to get free from the things that hold you hostage and cause you to retrieve and withdraw from people that love you. Listen, my name is Sheila Ingram. I am so happy that you tuned in. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to once again come to you and share with you from this series that we are talking about relationships with myself. The relationship with yourself is something you need to cherish. You need to love yourself as you love others in other love relationships, right? In a positive way, not a toxic way. Love yourself again. It's okay. It's safe on the other side of that wall. I'm telling you, try it. I'm telling you, it's safe on the other side of that wall. All it can do is cause you to grow and learn more about yourself. You can learn so many things. We are always evolving. I thank you once again for being here. Remember, when nothing changes, nothing changes. All right? Amen and amen. Let me play this little thing for you right here. For those of you who did not hit that like button, let me go ahead and shoot this out for you real quick so you can hit that like button and you can subscribe to the channel, right? If you're going through grief, if you're going through this situation, reach out, okay? Aha. Here's a little reminder. Remember, when nothing changes, nothing changes. So, what you have to do, you have to keep it moving. You got to keep it moving. That's right. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop.